So I just watched Time for School 3 Part 1, and I have a lot of thoughts about it. I first thought that it was a very interesting document that Wide Angle did. I saw a lot of similarities between, the United States and China, and then a ton of differences actually between the other children they followed. But first to start out, they started out by saying that public education is a basic right that we should all have. And then a few years ago, or in 2003, I believe, 189 nations made the vow that by 2015 that free primary education would be available to every child. And so all those nations came together, and that's their goal. Right now, there's 75 million short of that children-wise, but there really has been a lot of progress. One of the girls, who was Shugufah, is from Afghanistan, and so I was really interested in her because, as you know, Afghanistan is the country that I've adopted this semester, and every single child that they followed, I kind of picked out one main problem, or one thing that's discouraging the children to go to school and get their education. And for Shugufah, it's that she's a girl. And so in Afghanistan, the Taliban is really, using violence and scaring the girls away from getting their education. They believe that only boys and only men should be educated, and that the women's job is to only be in the home doing the housework. They talked about an incident where I believe it was 2009. There was a poison gas attack on the girls, and that ended up putting 80 little girls that are being educated in some critical care. And so I thought that was really interesting, and just how much these young women want education. And that's kind of the big takeaway that I got from this entire thing, is that I feel as Americans and as really just an average citizen, that a lot of times we take schooling for granted. We figure, we have to go to school. You fake sick when you're little to get out of it. And that's something that people and children in other countries are risking their lives every day because they want that education so bad, because it is a basic right, and it is something that people need to obtain. That's what Heavenly Father wants us to do. He glories in intelligence, and I think it's really amazing how much these children are willing to sacrifice to get that education. One of the things that I found so interesting is that boys and girls obviously are going to have separate roles, especially in Afghanistan. And if Shugufah wants to pursue her education, she has chores that she needs to do along with that. And what's sad for her is that she, as a woman, needs to take care of so many things. She comes from a large family. I think a family that's 13 children, and the boys don't have to help. And if the boy were to help, they'd be laughed at. It's very against their culture. And so it's just a lot of pressure on her to first do school, to cook, clean, prepare the home, and all just at such a young age. So that's Afghanistan, one of, as we know, one of the most dangerous countries in the world today. And violence is a big thing that the Taliban has combating against education. The next person we followed is Jefferson, and he's in Brazil. And their aspect that I picked out that's not motivating their children to go to school, or that is motivating, is it? Violence, same thing with Afghanistan, but mostly drugs and drug gangs, and that's one thing that Jefferson's mom wanted him out of. She wanted him to be able to gain an education and keep him out of trouble, so he doesn't end up either dead or in jail. His mother also enrolled him in a after-school church education program. And so because of that, he's progressing a lot faster than other kids that are his age. And so at the beginning of Jefferson's story, that was a great thing. He was able to work hard and reap the benefits, and so he was actually able to move up a grade. But now that he's, in a sense, graduated from elementary school, the school department doesn't feel like he's ready to move on, and so they're holding him back. Not ready to move on because of any grades or anything, but mostly because of the social aspect. I kept trying to think of what I believe about this situation, and I think there are pros and cons to each choice. If they held back Jefferson, there's a chance that he becomes very lazy, because he already knows his stuff, he's made good grades already, and that his motivation decreases because he's not excited and he's not learning, and he's going to be disappointed that he's there again. But it'll keep him away from older children that are going to be getting into other things, drugs being one of them, and then also middle school. In Brazil is the biggest place where kids start to drop out. And so, but on the other hand, I feel it would be best. Ooh, it's a tough one. I want to say I feel like it's best to hold him back, just because, yeah, it might be sad, but he might become the best in the class, being able to teach other students. So applying the BYUI learning model, he'll be able to teach other students and hopefully get excited for that. And I think that would be really good for him, especially when it comes to sadness or getting mixed up into something you don't want him mixed up in. And then we have Nirja. She's in India, and her story was kind of sad to me. In India, we have 25 million in 2003 that were not in school, but just 6 years later, that was cut over 60%, and so that was exciting. But with Nirja, people like Afghanistan aren't thrilled about girls being in school, and so she, over the years, has ended up dropping out because there was a drought, then she's a little behind, and the women's responsibility is to be at home and be taking care of the cattle and preparing food. So she's gone, which is very sad, but at the same time, I understand it, because in places like India and Afghanistan, women aren't encouraged. And so that makes me sad, because I feel like when you raise a young woman and she's intelligent and she has education, she can go so much further than only relying on a marriage. And so that's kind of what Nirja is doing right now, is just getting excited to be married, and I wish her the best. And the last person we followed was Ken in Japan, and this was the most similar to the United States, I thought. He's very educated. He attends one of the top education primary schools. The problem that Japan ran into, though, was feeling privileged. And so his mother was saying that, he doesn't realize that other children, like the children in Brazil, India, Afghanistan, all over the world, aren't given those rights. And so he felt overprivileged, but still Japan is so educating. That's really great, because they have 100% of their children in school in primary age. So just last thought, I really enjoyed this video. I thought it was amazing to see different countries and what their education systems are like. It makes me feel so much more grateful to be able to learn and be educated, and that's something that should never be taken granted. And I feel like we need to teach our students, especially at a young age, how thankful they should be for their education. And so that's my review on Time for School 3, and I loved it.